And welcome back to the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina. We had the presidential address last night. We're actually really neat topic. We're about to be in a baby bust, which is the opposite of what everyone thought was going to happen during the pandemic. There's also a crazy story out of a New York airport about a songbird smuggler. And then we also have the NFL draft tonight, which is big sports news as well. Mark, how are you doing on this rainy Thursday midday?
It is rainy, so the eyes are better on rainy days. I am starved. The word of the day is famished because I'm trying to get through the show before I eat anything, and I don't know if I'm going to make it. So if I drop right in the middle, you'll just have to carry it the rest of the way.
There were a couple of people last night in Congress that I thought might just peel over and fall down. But this is my thing, and we can talk about what were some of the things that were said and some of the topics that were discussed. But I more want to talk about just the presidential address in a whole, kind of like the concept of what it is and what are we doing. To me last night.
Let me jump in right here, and I can go right along with this. I didn't watch a word of it. So okay. I bet I know where your point is going, and I agree with it. So I can't talk about what was said because I didn't watch it.
That's fine. Last night was a pep rally. And that's all it ever is, as we just lost Mark here for a second. But it was a pep rally. And when you look at what's happened the last decade or so, I don't understand why someone would watch it intently. I kept flipping back and forth between commercials and different things, but I couldn't watch it as a whole because it's a high school pep rally where one person is basically just trying to say all the right things. And then you have some people who are want them to win, and you have some people who want them to lose. To me, it's a perfect example of why someone like Obama can be the president and why someone like Trump can be the president. It's basically just people getting up that have a specific rhetoric, and they're just able to hit these very catchy points. And then people just kind of stand up and clap as if they agree. I don't understand. At some point, it had to become a pep rally. There's no way it was always a pep rally.
That's a good point. I wonder when they started televising it. It is very, it is the difference between MMA and the WWE. And last night's performance is very WWE.
Yes.
It is all sizzle. There is no substance. For people to watch it, if you're a Republican, you don't watch because there's a Democratic president. If you're a Democrat, the only reason you watch it is to make yourself feel good, to remind yourself that your side won, but nothing of substance comes out of it. There's nothing that they're like, oh, there's a good point. They're looking for rounds of applause. They're looking for, and I'll bet the standing and applauding is orchestrated. I'll bet they know. They're like, you need to get up now. Get up. Oh, yeah. Okay. I was texting. What did he say? Something? Yay!
It's all. This is going back. Obama had a rhetoric, and there was a way in which he spoke, and Trump very similarly. They didn't speak the same way, but Trump had a rhetoric, and it was very clear to certain people. And the way these addresses are done fit perfectly into that rhetoric, that soundbite rhetoric of I'm going to drop one or two lines. I'm going to say it this way. And then people are going to clap and I no longer have to explain myself. And that I just don't understand it. I don't understand the point because the other one that that you get into, nothing's explained. It is the high school election of we're going to have two lunches. How are you having two lunches? Where is it coming from? What are we doing? And I get it's an address and they can't just open up the plan page by page and show you, but very little is explained. It's just these very niche points of here's what we want to accomplish, but it doesn't actually tell you how we're getting there, what we're doing. And it's been like that through the last three presidents. I'm lacking the understanding of why we hold these things in such esteem. Why they matter so much.
Because they always have. It is ceremonial. And I think there will be a change that happens. It won't be with my generation. And we've talked about this before. My generation, I'm 49 years old, is kind of the lost generation. And the reason I say that is in career-wise, we are at the worst time because people are living longer and longer and people aren't retiring. So people my age aren't being able to climb up the corporate ladder like they used to be in the past. We're also the first generation who are dumber than our kids. And there was never a point in anything that my parents needed to come to me for help, except when we got a VCR and they had to, but even my parents could figure out how to work the VCR. There's so much of technology that we go to our kids because they get it better than we do. So we're kind of stuck in the netherworld. But I think the younger generation, the technology generation that looks at the world and can not only can look at it and say, this is stupid, they can do something about it. And you see what happened with Reddit and the stock market. And they are like, my generation knows that the presidential address is absurd. And my generation knows that the people in politics, there's about this many that care, and about all the rest of them that only care about being reelected. And they say stuff just to get people vote, just to get reelected, not what's better for the country. The younger generation has proven that they can take these old models like the stock market and mess them up. And they can take things like when Trump wanted to do a rally and all the Democrats ordered tickets and then didn't show up. And they screw. And the younger generation is realizing how they can really buck the old trend and they can outsmart the old people. So there will be a change because everyone knows how politics is a mess, and the young people have a chance to fix it. We can't. We don't know how to do it, but they'll be like, it's stupid, and we'll mess it up because we can, and they will, and that's where the world has a chance.
Well, and you hinted at this, and my final point, like last night, it felt, and maybe it's because of COVID and everyone's spread out and it's not full, and I mean maybe that's playing into some of this. It felt archaic last night, and it's never. Even past addresses with former presidents when I was younger and I would watch, it never felt archaic. Last night, it felt like old. Like, why are we doing it this way? Why are we in a room and after every 2 or 3 sentences to show approval, people have to stand up and clap? Like it just felt like very old king style, archaic, and it was bizarre. Last night,
you know why it felt that way?
I'm not saying last night was good or bad, but it was bizarre.
You know why it felt that way? Because the guy speaking is 106 years old.
Possibly. It was weird.
Now this is his first one. Has there ever been a president that old that spoke? I know Reagan was old when he was there. I know Trump was in his 70s, but Trump's not this old. That was probably the oldest presidential address ever. And we're just going to get 3 more of them.
Yeah. The idea of standing and clapping to show your approval is so, I can't even,
Pep rally is perfect.
I just don't, I'm trying to think of the last time, even when I go to a sports game, very rarely do I stand and clap. Usually, I'm watching and I'm enjoying, and the idea of standing and clapping to show my approval, I don't know. It's weird. It was very weird.
I agree. I'm with you.
Another interesting story, and this, I think you and I have actually touched on this before. Everybody assumed that, very similar to what happened in the 70s at a certain point, that there would be a baby boom because of the pandemic, right? People were at home, they were together, there was nothing else to do. And
there you go. There was nothing else to do.
Correct. And people expected this surge to come months later. And what we're actually finding out now is America is about to be in its first ever baby bust. When I first started reading this, I was kind of like, oh, that's neat. The more I dug into it, it's super fascinating because it's never actually happened in America. We've had baby booms. We've had meeting the median. We've stayed consistent. We've never been in a moment where there's a true baby bust. Right now, since the pandemic has started, we have had moments where we are at a 10% decline in childbirths, which is pretty much the largest in modern times in America.
You want my theories?
Yeah.
Well, it is funny because these are the things that we joked about back when this started. We said we're going to see 2 things. The couples that get along with each other, we're going to see a baby boom, and we're going to see a divorce boom, because as people are stuck in the same house together, it's going to push you one way or the other. The mediocre couples ain't going to make it through this. I wonder how much it has to do with the fact that the world was shut down, and I want to say the out of wedlock that are the can I say the hookup pregnancies?
Sure.
That, because there was no place to go, and the accidental pregnancies from people who are just dating and stuff, they kind of disappeared. I would expect they disappeared a lot because you couldn't go meet anyone online. I mean, you could meet people online, but you couldn't go to bars, and so it made that worse. I also wonder how many people, this is just theorizing, that while people were stuck home, I'm sure the walls felt like they were closing in. And if you were stuck home with little kids and you couldn't send them off to school, you're like, we ain't having any more of these. So I wonder if that had anything. I wonder what the vasectomy rate was during the pandemic, because if you're stuck home, weekends can be a little trying when you've got a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old running around the house. I would expect life could be trying when you have a 3-year-old, you have no daycare to send them to, you have no preschool, you have no kindergarten. So I wonder if that had to do with it too.
Yeah. So compared to, just one last number, compared to last year in December, January, and February, there are about 41,000 fewer births right now than the previous year before. That's an 8% decline. Just those 3 months alone from the data that they have already collected from the majority of the states. Another hypothesis that was brought up was the idea of you have so many other things on your mind when the pandemic had first started that maybe the idea of having a kid just wasn't there, right? Am I going to be able to keep my job? Am I going to be able to see my family? Those types of questions are floating around in your head. Maybe you're not as likely to be able to focus on something else per se.
I see now. I would have said that the other thing that you're focusing on usually went to the forefront anyway. Even if people had other things in life they should have been focusing on, that it always went to the top of the list of priorities. So I don't know. No one, I will say this, no one last March, April, when the world was shut down, would have ever guessed pregnancy decline. No way.
No, and not only pregnancy decline, but like I said, a bust, right? This isn't it's down 1%, it's down 2%. Right. We're hitting double digits decline. This is a bust. And it is, we've dealt with booms. We've seen the economy go up because of baby boomers. We've seen things we've never in this country in modern times dealt with a baby bust. It will be interesting to see 10, 15, 20 years. How does this affect our schools? If schools are 10% less full, right? If playgrounds are 10% less full, if arenas and different businesses are, I don't know. I don't know what to think about it after reading it this morning because I haven't had a chance to really digest it. But I think part of the reason I don't know what to think is because there is nothing to look back on. I expected to have a baby boom and I'd be able to read about what happened in the 70s leading into the 80s and but there's nothing to go back and look on for a baby bust. So I think it's fascinating.
I think people like you have let society down and you need to go out and start contributing some kids. That's what I think.
Anyway, we're going to spin the wheel now. Moving forward, thank you to Weiss Markets, our title sponsor. Again, for all your grocery needs, be sure to go to Weiss Markets. Mark goes there at least 3 or 4
I was there this morning. I was there on my way into work.
I'm beginning to think there's a singles night or something at Weiss Market. You go so often. I'm not really sure what's going on. But be sure to go to Weiss Markets.
I'm old enough that I'm I know, you need something. And I was if I just get it now on my way in, I won't forget it. And sometimes your day gets longer and things pile up and you end up and you don't have time. So, when I have time in the morning, I just hit it.
Good for you. Good for you. And I'm sure Weiss Markets appreciates it.
They did this morning.
We also have Moon and Raven gift cards. We also have Eat and Run Catering. And we also have the Break Room. So if you're trying to blow off some steam, be sure to go to Williamsport. Be sure to check out the Break Room and give yourself an opportunity to break some stuff. I'm looking forward to it. We have a random winner every day from the Midday Show Facebook group. In order to have a chance to win, that is it. Go to the Midday Show group, join us, follow along. We don't blow up your feed too much, but you get to be a part of what we're doing here. And it gives you an opportunity to have your name entered for a chance to win.
There you go. Facebook,
All right.
Midday Show Group. It's that simple. And you're on Facebook all day anyway. Who are you kidding?
So our random winner today from the Midday Show Group is Jody Martino. Jody Martino.
I know, good old Montour. Well, once upon a time, she was a Montoursville girl.
Okay. Good for Jody. Here we go, Jody.
She's now Coal Region-ish.
Coal Region-ish. Here we go, Jody.
Yeah, she's down there somewhere.
Oh! I'm waiting for my compliment.
I want to know how much, because
$25 gift cards to Nice Markets.
See, since it's a Montoursville person, like once a Montoursville person, always a Montoursville person. So I'm happy for that. So there we go. Yeah, we're happy for Jody
Martino. For those of you keeping track at home, for those of you playing the game at home, that is 3 in a row, Mark.
That is 3 in a row. Jody has a brother who lives in Australia now, which is, how cool is that?
So cool. All right, this is a story.
And you know what? If you talk to him, he talks like he's been in Australia forever. And I haven't seen him in 20 years, but yes, he is pure like Crocodile Dundee when he talks. Yeah, it's fantastic.
The dingo ate his baby.
That was pretty good. Not as good as he does, but that was pretty good.
Probably not. That's the best I can do. This is a really fun story. I asked you, I said, do you want me to send it to you, or do you want me to kind of tell you as we go along? And you said, surprise me. So there was a man in New York City, and he was arrested at the John F. Kennedy International Airport for smuggling songbirds. Now, so what we'll do here is we'll break it down by questions. First of all, how many songbirds do you think a person can smuggle on a plane? Like on them?
Well, the first thing that is just creepy about this, when you think of people smuggling things on planes, you think of drugs, and there's certain places on their body where they smuggle them. So that's a little disturbing to begin with. To be honest with you, I had to ask you if a songbird is real or if it's I don't know what a songbird looks like. I don't know how big a songbird is. I assume they're not very big.
No, think of like a robin.
Okay, so I have no idea why. I didn't know there was a black market for songbirds. I did not know. Maybe they're specially bred. Maybe these are like the thoroughbred of songbirds. How many did he smuggle?
That's what I'm asking you. I want you to guess.
Because I would have said like 5 or 6, but since you're asking me, I'm going to say it's a crazy number. So I'm going to say like 25 or 26.
He smuggled 35 live songbirds. And here's the best part. He did it inside his jacket, and he stuck them in the picture there. You can see that's one of the actual songbirds. He put them in hair curlers. So he has this jacket, and he lined the inside with hair curlers with songbirds stuck inside of them. Okay, 35 songbirds. And he actually got on the flight from Guyana and made it to JFK off of the plane until finally a federal agent noticed that something was going on and checked his jacket and found the 35 songbirds. Now, in order to smuggle 35 songbirds and possibly end up with a federal offense, how much would somebody have to pay you, Mark?
How long is the flight? I'm trying to think of how much someone would have to pay me just to fly from Guyana.
There you go. How much would someone have to offer you to make it worth your time?
To make it worth my time. I mean, there can't be. He's got to get a slap on the wrist. It's not like he's smuggling anything. He's not smuggling weapons or drugs. He's smuggling little bitty birds. It's got to be like a $20 fine, and that's it. So I'd give it a go. I would give, not for much, because the risk to reward, there's no risk.
He was offered $500 up front, and then another $2,500 on the back end if he was able to deliver the smuggled birds.
And he did deliver them, Kind of.
Well, just to the wrong people. Now,
here's my first two thoughts. As absurd as this story, these are my first two thoughts. I'm thinking songbirds sing. How did he keep them from to just like shh?
I don't. The only thing I can think of is it's just dark in the jacket, or they were drugged somehow. I don't know. That I don't know.
The other thing, I'm picturing that song. I'm getting claustrophobic right now. I've been in an MRI tube and it's not been fun. Like that poor little bird. Do birds not care if they're stuck?
They must. So let me end the story, because this is we haven't even gotten to what is the craziest part. He was arraigned in federal court in Brooklyn on Tuesday and released on $25,000 bond. All right. And investigators have recently found out there is an underground songbird league, like basically a competition for birds to sing and which one sounds the best. They found out that these tiny finches that this guy brought over in this plane can sell for up to $10,000 a piece for entering and winning singing contests all throughout Brooklyn and Queens, New York.
Stop it.
So basically,
I don't believe a word of what you just said.
He had $350,000 worth of songbirds smuggled in his jacket for these singing competitions in Brooklyn and Queens.
And he was doing this for $2,500?
Yep.
He needs a new agent, because whoever negotiated this deal for him, it was bad deal.
Yes, and it's believed, so part of the reason these birds are so special, these birds are believed to sing better and therefore they're more valuable, but you can only get him from his home country of Guyana. Not Ghana, Guyana.
Is it French Guyana? Was that what it used to be?
Yes.
It's in South America, right? It's not in Africa. So this will be next week when we are at trivia with John. He asks what country produces the greatest songbirds. We will know. We will know it's Guyana, and we're set, and people will think we're smart.
Think of all the things you think people are doing in their spare time. There is a whole system in Brooklyn and Queens where people are spending tens of thousands of dollars in singing competitions with songbirds.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just unbelievable.
When you go to places, and I've heard people that have traveled and they're like, some of these places, they have so much money. And you're like, why would anyone do that? Because some of the people have so much money, they don't know what else to do with it. Like, what are they? Oh, let's go listen to songbirds sing. What else could we do? We could watch our mutual funds go up. Like what? It is absurd how wealthy some of the wealthy are, and the stupid little fetishes that they have. But songbird competitions, that's cool.
It's nuts. Oh. So Rob says Guyana is separate from French Guyana, but they are right next to each other.
Oh.
See?
Look at that.
All right. That's one of my favorite stories we've ever done. Songbird smuggling is right up there with who were we trying to save from Australia when we first started?
Oh, I remember that. It's sad. The patheticness of America. So this is the pathetic show. First of all, people care about the presidential address when we know they don't say anything. That's sad. Second of all, we're locked in the house with our significant other and we can't produce any babies. That's pathetic. And now we have this underground league in New York, which is supposed to be like this badass place, and they're smuggling little bitty songbirds for competitions. So we're not doing well so far. We are not presenting America in a very good light today.
No. So let's talk about the league that leads the world in concussions, and that's a good way to keep going. The NFL draft.
First thing my son says this morning is, "It's draft day." He's jacked. He is ready.
So I have a kind of like I don't know if you want to hear my take of tonight and kind of where the NFL has shifted, or do you have some thoughts you want to give real quick about just the draft in general?
You go first.
Okay, so we can talk about kind of like the breakdown and if there's players or teams or what you're excited about. I was talking earlier today with Brett Crossley, who works for us at NorthcentralPa.com, and I was telling him about how I feel like the NFL has shifted into this draft mode where the teams at the top of the draft, so the worst teams, actually are helping the better teams because they're so quarterback and skill set crazy right now. And I get it. Like, you need a quarterback to win in this league. I'm not saying I don't understand that. But what's happening is you're falling into a place where we're probably going to have 5 quarterbacks drafted in the first 15 spots tonight. Like, that's very, very possible and will most likely happen. There is no way that these 5 quarterbacks are 5 of the best 15 players in the draft. It's not possible. There's no way. Maybe 1, maybe 2. So that one position is already pushing down 3 spots further for whoever the next best player is. So if I'm drafting 15, if I'm drafting 16, I'm really putting myself in a position where if I don't need a quarterback, I'm getting the 12th or 13th best player on the board. And it's creating a system where the best teams are actually getting better players.
No, I'm with you. The draft for the bad teams, and the teams that are always bad are trying to sell tickets, and that's all. And the general managers are trying to save their jobs, and that's it. If you are if you're Jacksonville and you don't draft, now Jacksonville desperately needs a quarterback. But to your point, when you are 2-14, your team sucks. Yes. You can't do anything. So to bring in a quarterback and to put a good rookie quarterback in mixed with a team that sucks, he's going to suck and he's going to get his brains beat in. Yes. So, like, I'm totally with you as a Dallas Cowboy fan, and yeah. I tell this to my son all the time. Here's what I want out of the draft. I want offensive linemen and anybody on defense, but all the skill positions, like, we can find. I know last year we took CeeDee Lamb and he turned out to be pretty good, but a wide receiver, is not going to change your team. And a quarterback can only change your team if he's got players around you. But we've seen good quarterbacks that lose and don't make the playoffs because, they don't have anyone around them. So I'm with you. If the bad teams took the best player on the board, and then the other thing that they miss is when you slide down, the good teams aren't going to take the quarterbacks because they already have a quarterback. So that's why they're good.
Let me end with this. I guess the best way to say it would be, I think quarterback chasing in the draft has basically created a system that benefits the upper tier teams. And I don't know if it will ever swing back because these teams are so desperate for a quarterback. But it's you can't be in spot 12 and sit and wait anymore. If you want a quarterback, you've got to move up or you've got to go get them. It's just created this hierarchy where I don't know if the shift in the NFL teams, it used to be you could go year by year. You could suck one year and you could be really good the next year. It's almost created this system where some of these teams get stuck in that bottom tier and they're just there. And they never get out of it because they're just always chasing that quarterback. And it's not even about them not getting good players because they're chasing a quarterback. They're giving the opportunity to get good players to the better teams. And it's just created this system that I feel like it's never going to end.
Well, there's an aspect. If they were family-run businesses, which is probably bad because it's not like the kids would know what they're doing. But if you knew your family was going to own this business 15 or 20 years from now, you would handle it better. But when you have a general manager who knows he's got a contract for this long, and if he drafts an offensive tackle, the fans aren't going to like it because the fans don't get it. And the fans, they know the big names, they know Heisman Trophy winners. But yeah, if you have to do it over a process, you have to do it over years. It would be better for a lot of these teams. If you suck everywhere, then trade out and accumulate picks. And then they're like, we can draft a lineman, we can draft a defensive lineman, we can draft a pass rusher, we can draft a defensive back. So you have to, it's not the NBA. You can't get one super player and sprinkle people around him and all of a sudden be competitive at least. And Jacksonville's going to suck next year again. I mean, they can have Lawrence all they want. They need to fill around him. And it's going to be, I agree with your sentiment.
It's really weird. Is there anything that you're specifically like? Is there a team? Is there a player? Is there something that you're kind of like looking out for? That you're a Cowboys fan, but is there something?
This is what I love about the draft, and this makes me. I guess I just look at it differently because I've been here for so long. I remember the Brady Quinn draft. Kind of exemplifies Brady Quinn. Cleveland picked like 3, and like 19 or 22 or something. They had 2 first-round picks. And people thought that Cleveland really wanted Brady Quinn and they were going to take him at 3, and they didn't. They passed on him. And he slid all the way down, and they got him with their 2nd pick. And for this day, this was going to change the Cleveland franchise. The coup of the draft, they got Brady Quinn at 22. We thought they were going to take him at 3. And then when he ended up playing, they realized he can't play in the NFL. He's not that good. So the thing that makes me laugh is all these nerds who think they're football experts, who are going to grade the draft 48 hours after the draft is over, before the guys have ever stepped foot on an NFL field. And what they should do is they should grade the graders 5 years from now and say, you said this team got an A+. Well, these guys suck. And you can't tell how good they are until they actually play. So I love reading that these self-appointed geniuses who are going to tell me how the team's drafted, and then you find out a year from now, all these guys that they thought were really good aren't that good. And you watch, and this guy will be like, he was an undrafted free agent, and now he's starting at corner for Denver because, oh my God, guess what? Nobody knew. So those are the things that really, really make me laugh, that people think they can evaluate who did well when a guy hasn't even stepped on the field yet. That's what I love about the draft.
That's what you're going to be watching for?
Yeah, I'm going to watch tonight, then I'm going to read, and then I'm going to see. Because there are going to be pundits who rip teams, who rip them. And they're like, oh, you should have taken this guy. And you're right. Of these 5 quarterbacks that are going to go in the top whatever, 3 of them are going to be busts. Like 3 of them will never make a Pro Bowl. Probably 4 of them will never play in a Super Bowl. And that, again, has to do with more that they're being drafted by lousy teams. Like if you're drafted by the Jets, you just can't make the Super Bowl because you're a Jet. If you're drafted by Jacksonville, you will never make the Super Bowl. You can win a playoff game in Pittsburgh, which they did a couple years ago. Yeah, but, you know, I mean, you're just doomed. So that's what I love about it. Just the audacity that they're like, we can tell you who is good at this and who isn't. Stop it.
It's tough. Just for this year tonight, I want to see if 5 quarterbacks go in the top 15, and there's a chance 4 wide receivers and a tight end go in like the top 20. You're talking about 10 spots that are going to very specific skill spots. And so you're going to see some really good teams get some studs like 20 through 30 at the end of the first round. I am really interested to see if these teams that are already really good are able to land like a top tier corner, a top offensive lineman, because like teams are just like, we got to get a skill set guy. We got to get a quarterback. I think this year more than any other year, somebody who would have went number 12 is going to end up going 22 because they're just going to get jumped by these receivers and quarterbacks. So I think this is the year, like if you're picking 20 through 30, you've got a chance to get like a top 10 talent. I think it's going to happen.
No, I agree with you. And as much as, you know, and when I played high school football, I was a quarterback. And as much as we've become more and more enamored with it, if you can't block, you can't win. And you will rarely find an NFL team with a really, really good offensive line. Like give me a top 5 offensive line in the NFL that stinks. And on DV, you give me a front 4 that can rush the passer, and you're going to have a good defense. And as much as we love the highlight reels and the fantasy football numbers, if you can protect your quarterback and you can rush the quarterback, you can win.
Well, it's because it goes along with the draft. And to your point, one of the sneaky things about Andrew Luck's success that no one ever talks about, yes, Andrew Luck was a good quarterback and they took him number 1 overall. But when the Colts drafted him, they still had a phenomenal offensive line. And it was still pieces left over from the Manning years, but they had also used previous draft picks in the first round to kind of, so it goes to your point, like Andrew Luck was successful because he was good, but a lot of that success was like he was up on his own 2 feet for a while.
Yes. And what's his name? The kid from Baltimore, and I'm blanking on his name.
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar. Yeah, they were like the last pick and the whatever. Like they took him really late because they had a good team. So he walked in, and not only is he a special talent, but he walked in and he had players around him. Now they have no receivers because for some reason Baltimore never has good receivers. But they had good defense, they had good line. So it is, you can't fake it. In the NBA, you can put LeBron in his prime. You can put, MJ in his prime, and you can find enough talent around him to make them competitive. In the NFL, you cannot put maybe you can put a quarterback in his prime because then guys will want to come play with him. But there aren't studs that are like, oh, there's a rookie quarterback. Yeah, I'm going to go play with them, because also their lifespan is too short.
Right.
And they're like, I might only have a couple more good years. Do I want to go risk it and play in Jacksonville with Lawrence? Or do I want to go, I'll take a little less and I'll go play with Roethlisberger in Pittsburgh, which is a safer bet. I'll bet on Big Ben. And that's where the league is.
Yeah. This will be one of the more exciting drafts because you have 10 skill set guys that everyone knows their name. Things are going to happen. Like, because there's some years where it's pretty dry and, there's not. This is going to be one of the more exciting drafts they've had in a very long time.
If the Cowboys do not take a defensive guy with their first pick, I will go lay in the middle of the golden strip. That is what I'm just end it all. I won't be able to take it.
All right, we'll keep an eye out for it. Anything else before we go?
Well, no, offensive line is always acceptable, but that's it. Other than, if I'm not here tomorrow, if Dallas does not take defense or offensive line, I will not be here tomorrow because I will have a tag on my toe somewhere in a cold box.
I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina. Be sure to check out the NFL draft tonight. Again, thank you to Weiss Markets for being our title sponsor for all your grocery needs. Head out to Weiss Markets here in our areas. And thank you to NorthcentralPa.com for having us.
And let's go get some food. I'm starving.
All right. I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina. Thanks for watching the Midday Show.
See ya.